Good morning. My name is Cindy Hackett. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation, which is you. As we begin our gathering today, I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you from occupied Puyallup ancestral land. I pay respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to their descendants and to all Indigenous people. We welcome all who are joining us with a longing for community, the hope for peace, and who are seeking justice. We are a diverse congregation which encourages each one who comes through our doors to find their own truth and belief. We invite all to join us in a search for meaning and community, guided by reason, respect for each other, and by love. One of the wonderful things about this virtual platform is that we have the opportunity to welcome guests from outside our traditional geographic area. People can have the good fortune of stumbling across our website, notice us, and join us from Connecticut or from England or from Hawaii or from Alaska, as long as they can figure out the time zone, which can be a challenge. So we offer a special welcome today to our new friends and our returning friends from near and far away. I invite you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Links to the video version of this service will be posted there this week, and you'll find other services there also. We'll also post those on our website. This allows you the opportunity to refresh your understanding, but also just refresh yourself during the week with the time for joy and introspection, a good time. You can find all of our program announcements this week in our e-news and listed on our church calendar. And here are some of the highlights. After service today at 11:30, children and their parents are invited to Kids Chapel with Nancy Slocum, our Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. I've also honestly found her to be a wonderful person of religious exploration for me, an adult, somewhat. At noon today, following worship service, our treasurer, Jeff Rutherford, will host a session to review the budget that will be presented at the congregational meeting on June 13th. The link to this meeting can be found in the e-news or on the church calendar. It will be different from the link to the service, so do check that out following the service if you're interested in attending. Next Saturday, June 12th at 1 p.m., we are all invited to be part of the co-ordination of Matt Aspen and Joe Rettenmeyer. Matt did his ministerial internship with our congregation, and Joe has spent time with us as minister when Reverend Linda took a short month-long sabbatical earlier this year. Also, for those who may be interested, following the online ordination service, there will be a masked in-person reception in Seattle at the Duwamish Cultural Longhouse. Details about the ordination and the reception are in the e-news and also listed in our church calendar. Next Sunday, June 13th, Doug Taylor, who's done amazing work this year with religious exploration for adults, will be hosting the UU Free Thinking Mystics at 9 a.m. This will be the last gathering for the program year, but the group does plan to regather in September. Also next Sunday, Reverend Linda will be leading our worship service, What If That Is Joy? And following the service at noon, we will have our congregational meeting. All members are encouraged to attend so that we ensure a quorum for our online meeting. The meeting will include elections for 3 board members, board president, and a member of the nominating committee, and a member of the endowment committee. We will also present the budget for our next fiscal year. Watch for a link coming this week for the materials that we'll be using during the meeting that we're preparing right now. Links for all of our programs can be found in the weekly e-news or via the events on our church calendar. We are deeply grateful for your ongoing financial support and your ongoing emotional support to our congregation that makes all of this possible. These programs, our staff who create and facilitate the programs, and the connections that we make through our congregation. Thank you so much. And now, with a deep breath, let us prepare to gather in worship.
Thank you, Cindy. Rocking that flower hat, honey. Just such a great entrance into our worship today. Our opening words are by Thomas Rhodes. We come in a variety of colors and shapes and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward, and some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us are low to the ground, and some of us stretch to the sun. Some of us feel like weeds sometimes. Some of us carry seeds sometimes. Some of us are prickly sometimes. Some of us smell. But all of us are beautiful. What a wondrous bouquet of people we are when we gather. It is so good to be together.
Please join with me as we light our chalice. The words, I believe, are in the chat. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and the holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who've gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
We have a special treat this morning. Typically at our flower service, I will tell the story of flower communion, but we are graced with today a wonderful video made by my colleague, Gretchen Haley, from the Foothills UU congregation in Colorado Springs. Let us enjoy this storytelling.
Nearly 100 years ago, the Unitarian minister Norbert Čopak offered his Czechoslovakian congregation a ritual to respond to their questions about how to be a community that welcomed rather than suppressed diversity. Czechoslovakia was a country formed in the aftermath of war, struggling just 5 years after the end of that war with questions of belonging and identity, trust and anxiety. Čopak's ritual took the traditional bread and wine communion that his community was too heretical for and too resistant to these usual symbols, and played with this ritual. He turned instead to the beauty of nature all around them and invited each of his congregants to find a flower and bring it to the church one Sunday. That each person would find the flower that was beautiful to them was a symbol of their affirmation that each of us has a piece of the truth, our unique sense of what beauty means. On their way into the church, his congregation was in turn invited, each of them, to place that flower in a vase, which symbolized their free choice to enter into community alongside all the other people that saw beauty in their own way, symbolized by their flowers placed there as well. A free church where people freely choose to walk together across their differences. Once everyone had gathered, they'd bring the vase forward. Then the minister, Chopak, he would bless it. And then he'd invite everyone to choose a flower to take home with them, but just not the one that they came with. Again, this free choice affirmed each person's choice to be blessed by another and to receive with an open heart their different understandings of beauty and to feel connected rather than divided by this difference. In this moment where so many forces seek to divide people, to play on our fears of differences and our anxieties of the other, here we remember that we freely choose to walk together and to be blessed by the differences between us and to see these differences as beauty.
Now is the time when we offer our financial gifts to the work of this congregation. Thank you for your consideration to support our church during this unprecedented time apart. You may follow the link in the following slide or click on the link in the chat to text us your donation for the support of this church. And the members and staff working tirelessly to keep our congregation connected in a new and dynamic way. Every little bit helps, and while we are physically apart, our gifts are stronger together. Join me in the dedication of the offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offering to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And now I would like to read to you an excerpt of a poem written by Ross Gay. He has seen some pollen on a woman's pant and offers a reverie about lilies. Lily is the first flower I planted in my garden, and I pray to it daily in the 4 to 6 weeks that it offers up its pinkish speckling by getting on my knees and pushing my face in, which, yes, is also a kind of kissing, as I tend to pucker my lips and close my eyes. And if you get close enough, you'd probably hear some minute slurping between us, and for some reason wish to deploy the verb drowning, which in addition to be cliche, it implies a particular kind of death. And I will follow the current of that verb to suggest that the flower kissing the moving so close to another living and breathing thing's breath, which in this case is the lily I planted 6 years ago, will in fact kill you with the light, will annihilate you with the light, will end the life you had previously led before kneeling here and breathing the breathing thing's breath. And the lily will resurrect you too. Your lips and nose lit with gold dust, your face and fingers smelling faintly all day of where they've been. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Nancy Slocum, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration here for Children and Youth here at Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And it's good to be with you on this day. And I bring to you today a story of a dandelion. I like to think this story takes place close by in Point Defiance Park. Have you ever been to Point Defiance Park? Well, Point Defiance Park is here in Tacoma, and maybe you've been there and gone to Owen Beach, or maybe you've walked on trails through the woods, or maybe you've gone to the zoo or the aquarium there, or perhaps you've visited the gardens. The gardens, there's a beautiful rose garden, and there's also a beautiful dahlia garden. And when they are in bloom, it is really spectacular to see all of these flowers. Well, our dandelion grows in the grass there at Point Defiance. Somehow it escaped the gardener's efforts to get rid of all of what they considered weeds. But it sat in the grass, right between the rose garden and the dahlia garden. And it would look at all of the flowers there. It'd look at the roses, and when the breeze would waft over the roses, the dandelion could take in the beautiful scent of the roses. And the dandelion would look at the dahlias and would see some of them growing as big as dinner plates. They call them dinner plate dahlias. They're so big. And he would watch the gardeners come and just carefully tend to the roses and tend to the dahlias. People even volunteered their time to come and help take care of the gardens because they loved the roses and the dahlias so much. And people would come and visit, and there would be little signs next to every flower telling what type it was, an American Beauty rose or a dinner plate dahlia. And this dandelion just thought, wow, they're just amazing. Look how big they are, and look at all the different colors they are. There's pink, and there's red, and there's purple, and there's orange, and white. And oh, he was just in awe of all these big, beautiful flowers that surrounded him. And he would sit there as he watched all these flowers, and he would also welcome local insects, bugs, little beetles and bees, and butterflies would come and would land on the flower head and would have pollen, nectar, and take pollen with them as they left the dandelion. But the truth is, this little dandelion felt kind of sad. He saw all the attention that all the other flowers got. He saw the way people would exclaim over how beautiful they were as they sniffed to smell the roses, or they would take pictures of the beautiful dahlias. And he felt like he wasn't very special. He was just a plain old dandelion. And he felt pretty glum about that. Well, one day, a little boy and his mother came wandering through the gardens. They had been to the zoo, I think, and had stopped because they drove by the gardens on their way out and just said, let's walk through and let's look at all the beautiful roses and all the beautiful dahlias. And as they were wandering through the gardens, all of a sudden, the little boy got very excited and went running out of the rose garden to the dandelion. And he said, oh, this dandelion is so beautiful. Look at its color. I love this dandelion so much. And he picked the dandelion and he went running back to his mother and he handed the dandelion to his mother. And he said, Mommy, this is the most beautiful flower here. And I want to give it to you because I think you're so beautiful and so wonderful. And the mother, of course, was delighted, and she carried her dandelion with her as they went back to their car. And when they got to their house, she took the dandelion into the house with her. And she said, let's find a vase. And she went to the dining room and reached up on the shelf and pulled down a little vase, put some water in it, and then put the dandelion on it. And they picked a nice sunny spot on the windowsill to place the dandelion. And she said, we can enjoy this dandelion here and enjoy how beautiful it is, watching it in the sunlight. Well, the dandelion was a bit surprised by all this. And he started feeling a little bit better. But he was watching out the window and looking and seeing everything that's going on. And he saw something that he'd never seen before. You know what that might be? It wasn't the trees, and it wasn't the flowers growing in their yard or the lawn or the kids playing nearby. He'd seen all those things before. What he saw as he looked at the window was his own reflection. He had never seen himself before. And he was kind of taken aback. And he thought, wow, look at my color. The little boy's right. I am a rather spectacular yellow. I've got all these little fuzzy petals. I'm kind of cute, actually. I may not be like the big roses or dahlias, but I'm pretty special here. And then he thought about the way that he had opened himself up to all the bees and the ladybugs and the butterflies, how when they visited him, he would open his petals for them and let them get the nectar. And he thought about the delight that both the little boy and the mother felt from just picking that dandelion and bringing it home. As he looked at his reflection and as he looked deep inside himself, he realized he was pretty special after all. He wasn't a rose, he wasn't a dahlia, but he was himself, the dandelion, and that was a pretty good thing to be. Like the dandelion, I hope you all can reflect. Look at yourself not just in the window or in the mirror, but to look inside yourself from time to time and notice all the special gifts that you have, all the ways that you are beautiful, all the ways that you may differ from other people, but you are still your own spectacular self. That's our time for all ages this morning, and I will share with you the words we use to sing when kids leave our sanctuary. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your special life, we hold you in our heart as you go. And now, we aren't here to share flowers with one another, but some people have shared pictures of flowers and their own smiling faces, which is always wonderful to see. So let's watch the video with music by John Hargis, our own John Hargis, called Summer Flow. What a lovely bunch of pictures. Beautiful flowers and beautiful people. You know what I'm missing this morning? I'm missing the feel of being in the church building. That rush of Sunday mornings when we're all getting ready to be together for worship. I think of all the buzzing that goes on around the sanctuary, listening to the sounds of people being greeted and greeting each other. The feel of the air as it is alive with all of us breathing together. I imagine the front of the church with all the empty vases waiting for the gifts of beauty that each person will bring to our collective ritual. There's a scent to it too, something about the water that lends a different kind of smell to the air. I miss faces, your faces.
I miss the feel of a hand in mine, or a quick hug, or just the eye contact and the smile that we offer each other. I miss exclaiming at the beauty of the flowers that we've all brought from our yards or from the store. Maybe it's just a dandelion, but it's special. I miss the energy of that moment in our flower service when everybody brings their flowers forward and we make the most glorious bouquets. I don't know if that's my favorite moment, but it's certainly in the running. Getting to watch you place all the diverse blossoms and the green of their stems and leaves, and seeing the beauty of every individual flower and what the glory of what they look like when they're all gathered together. And the smiles. I miss the smiles. I also miss that gentle murmuring that happens as everybody comes forward to take a flower to take home with them. Even just telling you about how it was when we were in the building and how it will be, because we will be back. Just talking about it lifts my heart a little. I hope it lifts yours too. There's something also in the building about the clumps of people who gather, families of all kinds, the chosen kind of family of beloved friends, the partners, and the young ones they belong to. You know, I miss the faces of our children as they come up for the time for all ages, and their blessed squirming and exuberance at the least opportune moment. And then there's after the service, the lineup waiting for coffee and treats. And I can't think of the crowd at the table without remembering what it's like when the kids come back upstairs as they bypass that long line for coffee and head straight to the good stuff, the cookies and the treats at the end of the table. It's been so long since we've been together with one another and repassed another flower service. And I'm longing for that time that we'll be back together face to face. And I suspect that many of you are feeling the same way. But here we are still, making it through this strange and difficult time as best we can. Our service today, even without all the loveliness of gathering and giving flowers to one another, is a reminder of the bouquet of our community, that we bring to our community our gifts and our beauty, that we make our own kind of rainbow on our flower service day. I'm so grateful to all of you who are showing up, who have shown up, who will show up. Lifts my heart, and I hope it lifts yours to know that we are together. And June, when we always celebrate flower service, is also the month of Pride. And there are rainbows everywhere we look. At least there are if you have connections into the LGBTQ community. It's another, that rainbow is another emblem of gathering, a gathering of community, a recognition that there are so many ways of being in the world, so many ways of loving each other. And, you know, I don't think I typically connect Pride, the month of Pride, and the flower service, though there are some really awesome resonances between them. Pride, as I would guess most of us know, didn't start as this joyous affirmation of diversity that it has become. It started as a riot against the police who were targeting the Stonewall Bar, where gay men and trans women went to have a safer place to be fully themselves. The raid at the end of June in 1969 was simply a routine act of police harassment. But some of the Black trans women had had enough, and they started fighting back. They were joined by others, gay men and lesbians from other bars in the neighborhood, and the street people who had seen the injustice and joined in. We all know that it didn't change much right away, but here, these decades later, we've seen really quite a remarkable transformation of our culture. And there's still plenty of work to do. The difference is, though, vast from where it was, from those bad old days to the present. I think of my great uncle Kiefer, for example, a closeted gay man who lived in a time where he couldn't be who he was except in very private places. My grandmother and grandfather had to rescue him from a jail in New York City. He'd been arrested for who he was, and it was a matter of great shame for everyone. It was only whispered about, ever. I think of our family friend Charlie, who was my mother's dear, dear friend, who took care of us when she was traveling, and who was murdered in Boston, coming home from a bar one night. I think of Mim, a nurse who worked with me when I was working in Chicago in an outreach ministry. When we welcomed her into our office for the first time and showed her where her desk was, the desk she would use when she was in the office, she placed a picture of her beloved Marion on the desk for all to see. In all of her working life, she was, I think, in her 50s at this time. She had never been able to place a picture of her beloved where it could be seen. She wept as she set it down, and so did the rest of us. And I think of Paul, my supervisor at the night ministry, job I shared with Mim. Paul, who wanted to be a minister, but was denied because he loved men, but who found a way to give his gifts of love and care into the world until his death from AIDS in 1990. The world changes small bit by small bit, and we rarely arrive at that final destination that we hope to make it to. But let us praise all that is holy, that there is movement. It does get better. Now, the connection to the flower service of all of this, aside from bright colors and a celebration of community, may not seem as obvious. Those of you who have heard me speak about this before or who read Chris's comment earlier in our chat will know that the creator of the service, Norbert Čapek, was taken by the Nazis towards the end of World War II, and that he was a subject of medical experiments at Dachau, the concentration camp. But here's the thing. Even there, in the midst of all of that sorrow and horror, he invited people to have a flower service, to find whatever small scraps of life, to bring them together, and to remember the joy and the beauty that was possible even then. These June festivals, Pride and Flower Service, are both joyous affirmations of community that endures even in the most difficult of times. They are celebrations of the diversity and wonder that lives around us all the time, but that we often forget and sometimes miss. My friends, as we come out of this long and difficult, challenging time, know that we will soon be back together, ready for yet another great celebration in our community. And until then, let us hold in our hearts, hold in our imagining what it is to be in community, connected, loved, welcomed. I invite you now to take a few moments to reflect upon this time, this celebration, and perhaps imagine a flower. Imagine a flower that you have selected, perhaps one that was in our video, or one that was given to you at some time. Imagine the beauty there resting in your hand. And as you breathe, listen to these words. Spirit of love and life, we gather in the spirit of love and in the spirit of beauty and celebrate the gift of life that is ours today. We are grateful for the gift of beauty, the beauty that rests in our hands, in flowers given and received, the blessing of color, of scent, of softness, and even the blessing of thorn. Let us raise up our hearts in thanks. This flower, perhaps in our hand, perhaps only in our imagining. May this flower be for us a reminder too that the gift of life that we share with all living things, flowers and birds, our animal companions, for all living things, for the gift of life itself, let us raise up our hearts in thanks. May our flower remind us of the love that we share with each other, the love for each flower, unique, each of us unique. Yet we can find sometimes a strange harmony of color. For the blessings and bouquets of people and flowers, and for the gift of love, let us raise up our hearts in thanks. Love, life, and beauty, all are fragile, all are strong beyond measure. Let us this day cherish these gifts, carry them into our lives, sharing them and living them day on day. I invite you now to enjoy a musical reflection. Look to the rainbow. Our closing words are by Sarah Lammert. Go in peace, embraced by the light and warmth of our gathering. Go in love, ready again to struggle on. And go in beauty, shining forth like lamps for freedom. So may it be. Amen.
Join me as we extinguish the chalice in the sanctuary, and as each of us extinguishes the chalice in our homes. The words are in the chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of peace, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join Kat in our closing blessing song.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.